My butt has been busy doing autumn things. Getting ready for winter, getting my cold frame ready, my hoop house, bringing all the plants in for the winter, my tropicals into the greenhouse, repairing any problems I see on the greenhouse, loading up bottles of water to temper the temperature in the greenhouse. What else? Getting my chickens ready and hardy for winter as well, feeding them some whole grains and things like that. That way it increases their metabolism. It takes longer and they have to work harder to digest what they're eating. So that actually helps them stay a little bit warmer. So that's a good little trick if you didn't know. And if you're just thinking about chickens, that's how you rock and roll in cold weather. Now I'm a hardiness zone 6. I'm in southern Ontario in Canada. We've had a couple hard frosts, some nights of hard frost, which sucks, and I wasn't really ready for. You know, there's just never enough time in the day to get all the things done you want to do. Hi everybody, where are y'all from? What are you guys up to? So I'm barbecuing this evening. I'm having a little bit of a glass of wine while my toddler, I can hear her in the house screaming at the top of her lungs. She's in one of those moods. Hi Kevin, how are ya? Yeah, so cooking up some burgers. Whole bunch of burgers, 10 burgers. So we've got some leftovers. I see a couple stragglers in my chicken run. I brought the food in. They tend to kind of find their own way. But I have a couple stragglers that like to get a little something something at the end of the night and pick through the things that fell through. Remember my whole sea of amaranth that I had? Making me hungry. Oh, I'm starving. I can't even. Look at all my amaranth. It has now frosted, and they've all wilted and died. The grains, some of them I can still shake into their feed, the chicken's feed. The rest of these stalks are going to be cut down mostly, and I'll put them in a back pile at the back of my property. It'll compost down. It'll also help house some native insects, pollinators like my bees and things like that, that need a place to hide in the winter. If you can leave anything like that, your dead, sticks and things like that that are out there from your plants, that's a good place for them to hide and to hibernate away from birds and things like that. My banana plants, they have wilted back, but I do have some fresh leaves I've been still giving the girls. They're happy to have that. I can still cut them off and dehydrate them and keep them for ourselves for tea and things like that. I have to be realistic about the things that I can still get done. I've actually been lucky to have a couple warmer days after the frosts. We think we were in the 50s today, which is bananas. But the frost days, they took a toll on a lot of my plants that I was hoping I'd have just a couple more days to collect seeds and things like that. You want to collect all the seeds of your annuals first. Those are not hardy. If you have perennials out there and you want to collect seeds, you can still do it after the frost, and that's fine. I have some bulbs I need to get in, garlic and, grape hyacinth, and I've got some, what else do I have? Tulips. I add more tulips every year because they're just so pretty, and when they come up in the spring, it's just like such a burst of color. It just takes you out of that humdrum of the long, cold winter that you've had. They're one of the first things up. The daffodils actually come up before my tulips every year. The crocuses are first. The very first thing is the crocuses. And you know that the daffodils and the tulips aren't far behind. I have some mums that I got for fall that need to go in the ground now because you'll be able to get a second harvest from them next year. Don't just throw out your mums. Anything else, I'm trimming back some pepper plants. I had covered them with some poly to try and save them through the frost. I did a pretty good job. It saved the fruit anyway. All of a sudden they're just fruiting like crazy right at the very end of the season. I have tomato plants that have just started making tomatoes. I have plants that just started to bloom. Like I have mums just blooming. They've budded and it's already frosted. Like the weather is so weird and mixed up and the seasons have changed so much. I did get a really good harvest. Remember I showed you guys these The beans, the pole beans on the back of my gazebo, they have since, wilted out. But I still have blooms up here. I have blooms that happened just a few days ago. It's very strange. I had a good amount of peas. I had a good amount of beans. I've saved them. Of course, the hard beans, they get saved as hard beans, and I save a lot for seeds for the next year as well. They like that cold weather. So right now I've got onions in. I've got all kinds of dark leafy greens. I've got Swiss chards and kales and cabbages and Brussels sprouts. They're happy. They don't mind that frost at all. And they'll even keep growing through the snow for quite some time, and I'm able to harvest. If you have row covers, if you have a hoop house, something like that, which I do, I am now planting again. I have some protected areas that I can still get some of my little seedlings in. I still have trays to get in. Like, again, homesteading it's a daily process, right? You have a huge list of things you want to do, and you get like this much done out of the list that you would hope to do, especially if you have a family you're taking care of, or if you have a toddler like mine that's like a domestic terrorist sometimes. And you need to donate that time to that. So all you can do is what you can do. Planning ahead is great, making sure you're planting things that are in season, that are hardy to that season. That's the key, because even if you have to take a few days off, or something happens or you can't get at it, you still have crops that are still thriving. And that's key, and that's important. I have sunchokes that are still blooming even through the frost. And I have to wait actually for sunchokes. They're also called Jerusalem artichokes, and they're neither an artichoke nor from Jerusalem. They're actually a type of sunflower that creates a beautiful big tuber that you can harvest like potatoes. It's very delicious. It's earthy. It's a little bit nutty. It's a little bit more crisp. You can eat them raw and cooked. You can also use the leaves. I cut down some of the stalks because they're getting really heavy, and I fed them to the birds, and that's going to make us some nice eggs. So they're really a great plant to have. It's nearly impossible to harvest them all because they grow tubers underground, and you're going to have sunchokes every year if you plant sunchokes. And that's great, because I can probably harvest, out of what I've got out there, I probably have 5-6 bushels of sunchokes to get out. So I can't get them out yet. You have to wait until it freezes. A really, really good freeze. Not just like frost and, whatever, wilting your plants. You need a really good hard freeze. If you don't, you can harvest them now if you want to, but they tend to cause you gas. So you're going to get a bunch of gas and indigestion from them. You can eat them. They're still delicious, but it's not great. If you wait, it gets a little bit sweeter. It gets a little bit more palatable as well. And once that frost hits, it eliminates that chemical in there that causes gas. So that's what you want to do. And you can harvest those sunchokes if you know where they are under the snow and you're able to dig that out. You can actually keep them in there all the way through spring until they start sprouting again. And you can literally use your ground as an outdoor refrigerator. But if you don't feel like going out there like us, we're like in some serious cold weather. I'm not going out there in the middle of the winter trying to break ground in the freezing cold. But you could if you wanted to. If you have a protected area that doesn't have a lot of snow, or you kind of cover it with row cover and you're able to get in there, then hey, more power to you. The thing with sunchokes is they're not like a crop like potatoes or onions or something that you can actually store for a long time. Once you harvest them, you need to use them within about a week, and they need to be, kept cold, and you need to handle that quick. Otherwise, they start wilting really quickly. You can't peel them really well, and they start molding, and you don't want that because then you just wasted it all. Or you have to go back out, break the ground, throw them all back under, and plant them. And that's an option too, right? If you're stuck. But once you harvest, you need to know, I'm harvesting sunchokes, and we're going to make it happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to dehydrate a bunch of them. That's a handy way to do it. You can dehydrate all the water out and keep them, for at the ready. The great thing about dehydrating is if you have a power outage, a lot of people don't think of it. They have a lot of things in their freezer. If you have a power outage, you don't have power, and you've lost the stuff in your freezer if it's an extended period of time. But if you have a backup of dehydrated goods, then you still have the ability to cook, right? With healthy and fresh things. So that's what I do. I can make a lot of dehydrated stuff, so I'll slice them up and I'll dehydrate a lot. I'll also make a flour out of them, so you can dehydrate them and break them up into a flour, and that's a really handy way to use it if you've never thought of it. It's also a gluten-free, healthy flour. So there you go. It's an idea for y'all too. You can freeze them as well. You can do a lot of things with sunchokes. So look it up and see. Easy to grow. You just buy tubers. You can even buy seeds. They grow really readily. They grow huge kind of bushy sunflower bushes. They don't bloom until the very end of the season. They only just started blooming maybe 3 weeks ago. They're little tiny sunflowers. They're not big and showy, but they make some fantastic tubers. And they're one of the only sunflowers that do that. As far as I know, they are the only one. So they're really fun to have around, and they're a really great food source and a good carbohydrate option. Sorry, a little bit of wine. Whilst I cook my burgers. I hadn't talked to you in a while, so I thought I'd do a quick live stream while I had a couple minutes away from the family. And just to do my own thing. It's not too cold out tonight. We have a beautiful moon. We've got stars out. We've got a very clear sky. This morning we had lots of fog. Tons of fog. It was crazy. And then all of a sudden the fog broke and it all fell to the ground and all the ground was wet. And I had my pine trees in the front were all raining on me. It was interesting. Where are you guys from watching? Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. It feels like since we've had daylight savings, I love daylight savings because it was not being coming sunrise till 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's like crazy. I get up at like 6, so I'm up like 2 hours before the sun comes up. Now that we've had daylight savings, now it came up at 7 today, and that was kind of fantastic. I have an extra hour of daylight. I know a lot of people bitch and complain about daylight saving. I don't understand why it's one day. I mean, what if you flew to another state and you had jet lag or province? Like, get over it. But no, it's nice. The downside of it is it starts getting, today the sunset was 5 o'clock. That's really early. So if you don't plan your day accordingly, you only have enough daylight to 5 o'clock here. And that kind of sucks. I remember being a kid, I hated coming home after school and you wanted to go out and play and it was already dark, like an hour after you got home. That sucks as a kid. And it's just going to get darker and darker earlier. Winter's not my favorite if you haven't picked up on that. Anyway, what else can we talk about? I'm grabbing all my tubers that need to come in. I have plants that I can bring in that you can save that maybe you never thought of. Annuals, in fact, that you probably buy every year. You get tired of buying them every year. Impatiens, for instance, geraniums. You can actually dig up those little tubers and save them. The fuchsias, same thing. I have standing fuchsias and I have the trailing fuchsias. I bring them in. They do really well in the greenhouse, even in the coldest part. What else? Any manner of flower that's an annual, I do my best to try and dig it up. Frost tender, herbs like pineapple sage, marjoram, some marjorams. What else? Stevia, that's coming in. They're frost tender. So they're pretty hardy for an herb. It's not like a basil. All your basils are going to die. But they're pretty hardy in my greenhouse, and they survive, and I don't have to buy stevia next year, which is nice. Stevia is a great thing to have on hand. It's one of the only herbs that give you that sweetness that's comparable to sugar. I'm not sure if it's also called sweet herb of Paraguay, or if that's a different variety, but that is also a sweet herb that I remember having. All those sorts of things. I brought in most of my stuff. My tomatoes are waning. I do have some tomatoes that I brought in that are just starting to create fruit, which is just crazy. And I just want them to finish. I want to at least get some seeds from them because I have some pretty cool and exotic tomatoes and peppers and things like that. I just need to get at least some seeds from them. And my girls, as soon as I come in here, they think I'm bringing treats and they run back out into the run. Come on, Bluebell. Go on, honey. Listen. Come here, Bubba. Hi, darling. Come here. Aw, you want to cuddle. Come here. This is my Myrtle. Hi, Myrtle. She's an azure blue. She lays some beautiful, big, huge blue eggs. She's fantastic. And she's got lots and lots of personality. Look at this girl. Look at her. She's just wild with it. Look at that comb and her wattles. I'm going to have to say. So in the winter, if you live in a cold area like me, having birds with these huge combs is not really advantageous. You actually have to protect them or they get frostbite. So having a bird like that, you have to put Vaseline or something else on them. So Bluebell, look at Bluebell, she's got a little pea comb. And this is much more advantageous for the cold weather, especially here. So I've got to pay attention to my girls that have these fancy combs and wattles and protect them. So I've got to pick up some Vaseline. All right, ladies, I'm going night-night. Love y'all. See you tomorrow. Let's lock you in so we can eat dinner in peace. All right. They're an absolute joy. I just have to say, if you're thinking about getting chickens, it was a good decision. For me, anyway. I know a lot of people get chickens and don't expect the work that comes with chickens. There's work to do. You've got to keep them clean. That's number one, first and foremost. That's the only way to keep your animals healthy. That's any animals, though. So keeping them clean and healthy is an important thing. That being said, chickens make a lot of poop, and you have to clean up a lot of chicken poop. So if you're not down with that, don't do it. If you are fine with that, they are a joy. They're so funny. I didn't know the chickens were missing from my life. They're so funny. They have such personality. I had no idea. I was very ignorant to the fact of, thinking chickens are just like these mindless beings, but they're not at all. They have feelings. I actually rehomed some chickens this week, and I spoke to the person I gave them to, who I know very well, and I know they're taking good care of them. But they put me on speakerphone, and the chickens came running out of the field because they heard me and they recognized my voice. How crazy is that? That two birds free-ranging on a new adventure would run back to hear my voice. Wow, that's they're not mindless beings. They really do. They form relationships with you and with each other. They're just beautiful. They're beautiful to watch. They're fun. They're such a stress reliever in so many ways, for me anyway. They're one of my only outlets of stress relief these days. I'll go hang with my chickens. I'm a chicken lady, officially. Sorry. Flipping my burgers. Okay. How do they look, everybody? Nice and fat. I made some big old burgers. There we go. We've got to toast up some buns, of course. I've got some fresh onions that I actually harvested myself. Got some tomato inside. Not mine. Mine are all green. I have green tomatoes, which I love for breakfast. Never had green tomatoes fried. You got to do that. That's good. What else? All the fixins. All the fun fixins. And some lettuce. There we go. Beautiful. I think they're all pretty done. Yep. Pardon me. So yeah, where are you guys from? I see quite a few people watching. Let's talk. You guys have any questions about homesteading or fall gardening, winter gardening? I'm on it. Got you. Let me know what's going on at your place. I have quite a bit to do still. This gazebo gets covered with poly, and I make it somewhat of a cold frame. I have a small heater in here if I need to, but I think I have enough little seedlings that I've started of cold hardy vegetables that I'm just going to do that. I have some other ideas for next year that I think I'm going to be able to make like a little ecosystem in there, little symbiotic relationships to make things work in there a little bit better. But I'm not ready to do that this year. I had only just thought of it this week. So next week I have some next year I have plans for that. I'd really like to paint what I have to paint on the chicken coop, but it keeps getting so wet. It's raining here. It's hard to get out here to do it on a day that things are dry enough and going to be dry enough for a little while longer too. So yeah, I'm just trying to finish things up. I'm glad to have a couple nice days because I could really, really use them. Hey Kim, what's for dinner? Burgers, man. Look at that. Searing them up. Hamburgers, baby. Plain and simple. It's a nice night. You know, I haven't actually grilled in a while. I've been so busy trying to handle everything that there hasn't been a lot of downtime. Collecting leaves for the compost. I have so much compost. We compost everything. If it doesn't get eaten by the chickens, then it goes into the compost. Or first of all, if the dogs don't eat it, then it goes to the chickens. If the chickens don't eat it, it goes into the compost. So leaves, yes. You know what I've actually been doing is I get a lot of pine needles and I've got a lot of dry leaves. And, you know, I thought to myself one day, why not try these pine needles in with the girls to see if they like it for their bedding? And you know what? They did. And I think that it's the nicest bedding I've used for them. And I think it's their favorite that I've used for them. Problem is I don't have enough of my white pine needles to last me the winters, let's say. But when I put it in there all fresh, it smells like Christmas in the coop, and that's pretty cool. But that being said, it's going to save me some cost on purchasing bedding, straw, and pine shavings if I can collect my leaves and I can collect my pine needles. So I'm waiting for days where it's nice and dry. I have a lot of pathways that are concrete. So I just wait for everything to dry up and I'm collecting them in my old feed bags. That way I can use it as some nice clean bedding and compost at the same time and add chicken manure to it to kind of have the green compost and the brown already mixed in. By the time I'm mucking out the stalls, so to speak, I already have some pretty good compost. They've scratched it around, they've broken it down some, and they've added their own manure to it. So that's kind of cool, and that's kind of what I've been doing. The other leaves and things, I pretty much leave to just nourish the soil. I have a huge oak tree that drops a lot of leaves, and we have some big ones, the neighbors have some nice big ones too, right? So we get quite a bit of leaves, and I just let them sit on top of the soil. In the spring, I turn everything under, and I turned everything off, and I need to toast my buns. In the spring, I turn everything under, and it all just gets eaten by the soil, which is amazing. Are you saving your leaves for your compost? It's a really good brown layer for sure. But we have a lot of paper. You know, we really maximize what we compost. We compost everything, man. And in fact, I've even started to use all that junk mail. Do you get words in your compost? Worms. Yeah, we do. But you know what? Again, I've been busy and haven't turned my compost much. But that being said, I layer it really well. So I have the green layers, I have the brown dead layers, and I've got a lot of other like scraps and stuff that I just can't. Anything that's moldy, I have to put in the compost because you can't give it to the birds, and I don't want to give it to the dogs, right? So that has to go in the compost. So I've got a nice little mix, and it just kind of breaks down. And the worms obviously are doing their job, or whatever animals are handling that business for me. Yeah, it's pretty good. I have fruit trees, so I heavily mulch them. But I had a wood chip drop, a mulch drop from an arborist who gave me a bunch of mulch, and I've been letting that sit and dry out over the summer, and it's ready now, and that's great because I have a lot of fruit trees, and I'm going to heavily mulch them this year. They need to be heavily mulched, especially my bananas. I want to make sure that they're well insulated, and anything that's questionable that I've started. We're hardiness zone 6. We just moved up from a 5B recently, and I kind of always push the barrier, especially if I have protected areas. So I've got plants and things that say are like a 7, and I can get away with it, but I have to heavily mulch and I have to protect the trees. So that mulch is important. My father, when he was alive, used to build houses for the fig trees and would stuff that full of leaves. Me, I have not been keeping up with that whole situation. I wish I did. Once the fig houses started deteriorating as I kept putting them together and taking them apart, I just never built another one, and I really should. I guess I should ask my neighbor if he could help me do that. But I would keep the leaves for that. In fact, we'd actually have to collect leaves from other neighbors to fill those fig houses. So keeping your leaves is a really important thing because it's free mulch. I mean, let's be real. It's great natural compost. Get it in. Once that snow hits, if you're in somewhere like us, once that snow hits, it's all contained underneath the snow and doesn't blow around and irritate everybody's neighbors, right? So you're good once the snow hits, as long as it's not blowing around. Right now, we've got a lot of wind, and everything's just kind of falling off the trees at this point. So everyone's raking and leafing and leaf blowing and all that stuff. And me, I'm collecting them. So yeah, that's important. It's free. Anything free in nature is a good thing to compost with. So also the shredded paper. I mean, all that junk mail and crap you get, we shred that and we use that in our compost. We use that. I've been using that in my chicken bedding, and they're quite happy with it. It insulates and it's absorbent, and it's free. Just saying. And it will get all mixed in with my compost and their manure, and will make some nice soil. So all that junk mail still has one more life left in it, at least. Don't just throw it all out. If you can shred it, if you have time, or cut it up into pieces, or even just, rip it, then you're good to go. That's what I say. Don't just throw everything out. I don't know. What is your opinion on that? What are you using? What else are you using in your compost? Do you compost everything? Is it Kevin? Composting? A lot of people have a lot of weird ideas about composting, and they're scared of composting. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Oh, it's Ray Max, Kitchen and Grill. Hi, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Compost, yeah. I was actually talking to someone last night about producing my own mealworms for my chickens. If you're not a chicken person and you're a newbie or whatever, and you go in there thinking you're going to go buy some mealworms, they're like $100 for a bag of mealworms. Are you crazy? What the heck? Anyway, I talked to one of my chicken friends last night. She said she used to produce her own mealworms. It wasn't a big deal. I said, is it totally gross? Would I be completely disgusted? She said it wasn't that bad. She actually used to breed reptiles and would make them. Grass, small twigs, garden greens. Yeah. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. All this stuff. I see people throwing this stuff at the curb, and it's just like soil gold. Like, keep that stuff, put it in a pile, and turn it. And you've got some great compost. These are the same people that will literally go and purchase mulch, and will literally go purchase bags of compost for an extravagant amount of money, and they just haul that crap out to their curb to be taken away for the city or whoever takes it to create compost that they buy back. I don't understand. Oh, I've got a bunch of little fancies. We're only allowed to have 10, so I have one variety of fancies each, right? So I've driven all over the place getting my sweet little birds. So I have a cool variety, and I have ones that lay different color eggs. So my favorite ones, I'll tell you, are the big fluffy ones. The ones with big fluffy bums and fluffy feet. So I've got a Brahma and I have a Cochin, and they're just like the sweetest, like little teddy bears. They're just so sweet. It's just bananas. And then, of course, I have a Silky who looks like a little tiny dog. And they're mostly ground dwelling. They don't fly much, so they can hop up on things, but they don't tend to like fly like the other birds. It's not as easy for them. So I have a nice ramp for them to get up into their boxes at night. And some of the little ones, she's a little banty. But, she shouldn't be laying as much as she does, but she's a really good layer. I can't even lie. She doesn't lay huge eggs, but she's laying very consistently, even right now in the cold. Supplementing their diet, people have been asking me, it's funny. Chicken people that have been doing this for a long time are asking me how I'm feeding my birds, which is kind of like strange, I guess, to me. But maybe not, because I'm, a self-sufficiency guru, kind of. And I'm a chef, so maybe that's why they're asking me. But they've been asking me what I'm supplementing my birds with, and I'm supplementing them with a lot of things that we eat. Do you raise? Oh, just for eggs. Just for eggs. They're my babies. I'm so in love with my chickens. It's stupid. I really didn't think that I would fall in love with chickens, but like I go out to see them like 20 times a day and have to cuddle them and give them kisses and make sure they're okay and bring them treats, and yeah, it's bananas. But I'm feeding them right now, since it's winter, like I said, it's getting colder and you have to beef up their metabolism, right? Give them things that take longer to digest. So whole grains and seeds and things like that. Regularly in the summer, I was giving them, kitchen scraps, all kinds of stuff from the garden, the amaranth, all kinds of greens. Right now I have hostas I'm cutting down. They're eating the hostas. They're eating the sunchoke leaves. Any kind of amaranth I see that's still producing. I have banana leaves. They love those. They're crazy over them. They'll eat mulberry leaves. Still have some fruit leaves that are thriving, and they'll eat those. But seeds, that's kind of where I've been at. I give them mealworms. They love that. I give them soldier fly larvae, but all that stuff is so expensive. Mine aren't free ranging. They're in a coop and a run. We have a lot of predators, surprisingly, in this urban neighborhood. And I can't let them free range. There's no way. So I do supplement their diet seriously. And being that I'm a self-sufficiency person and I grow all of our own produce, it's easy to give them a lot of good scraps and whatnot, right? But yeah, the seeds, I've been giving them fennel seeds. I've been giving them cumin seeds. Coriander seeds are, to me, are essential. They fight parasites as well. I put cayenne pepper in their water and in their food. Cinnamon, garlic and onion powder I put in their feed. You can crush up garlic and onion and give it to them. Some people say it changes the flavor of the eggs. I've never noticed that at all. But even if I got a garlic or onion flavored egg, I wouldn't even be mad. So I don't understand what everyone's problem is about that. But yeah, they get that because I need to keep them healthy. That stuff fights off viruses and fungus and all kinds of bacterias and things like that. Coriander seeds, cumin seeds, fennel seeds, all kinds of treats. They'll eat purer cereals. They'll eat oatmeal. They eat barley. They eat corn. They eat, heck, man. I give them their regular feed. I give them scratch. I give them corn right now. And any kind of grains I can give them. Now, do not give your chickens beans. Dry beans. They have to be cooked. Do not give your chickens potato scraps that are just peelings. They have to be cooked. That's important to know. Don't give them pea or bean leaves from your plants. They can't eat that. There's things that are in there that are toxic to them. So if you're in question, just look it up. There's a lot of information online about chicken stuff. Just make sure that it's okay for your chickens to eat. But yeah, a lot of the spices that we eat, I'm giving them too. Surprisingly, it helps them with a lot of health issues, and it keeps them healthy, and they like it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be eating the same thing, just like my dogs. People just feed their dogs dog food. I mean, I wouldn't want to eat the same crap every day of my life. Like, I'm a chef. Come on, man. I like variety, and it's important to have diversity in your diet to fill in the gaps. You can't eat the same thing every day. Even as a person, you can't. So I kind of follow that same tenet, right? I also give them back all their eggshells. I actually have them right here in a little toaster oven right now. I've got a whole nother batch. I roast them up for, 45 minutes on 350, make sure they're nice and dry and hard, and then I use a mortar and pestle. But I ended up with a rat. Yeah, the rats are serious when it comes to food scraps. And that's what's beautiful about having chickens. You can give the food scraps to the dogs, and if you can't give it to the dogs, you can give it to the chickens, and the chickens will make you beautiful eggs and chicken manure that is already compost. So you don't have to worry about the rats, right? Since my birds are in a run and a coop, I am able to have hardwire cloth on. Nothing can get in. There's no rats. There's no mice coming in there at all. And I bring their feed in at night. They do not. It doesn't sit out. So I mean, if rats come by, they're not getting any. Use the eggshells in my garden. Yep, I use eggshells in all of my planting. Also my tea leaves and my coffee grounds. Epsom salts, sugar I use, and a lot of pine needles I mix with my soil. But now that I have the chickens, I want to make sure that their eggs are nice and tough, so nice and strong. So I roast those things up. Yes, when I get them, the chickens will enjoy it. Of course, the chickens will love it. So it only makes sense that you replenish them. They're giving you a lot of their body every day. That's crazy. It's crazy to me they can create an egg every day. It's amazing. So yeah, I try and give that back as much as possible. Sometimes I give them their eggs back. If there's eggs that have fallen on the ground, I'll bring them in. I'll cook them up for them. About snakes, we don't have snakes here. I'm in the suburbs. It's a rarity to even see a garter snake. But even if we did, I have that hardwire cloth underneath, on top, all around the entire chicken coop and run. But I do know 45 minutes from me, a girl that I talked to, one of my chicken friends, she has problems with snakes, big snakes. They're right by the water, a waterway, and she goes, we have huge snakes. I'm like, you're kidding me? In Ontario? Like, what? She's like, we've got enormous snakes, and they try to get in the coop all the time. I'm like, that is crazy. No, pretty much what we're dealing with here are rats, mice, just trying to get feed, probably, and eggs. We have skunks, we have opossums, I have a squirrel that keeps trying to get in, pick the staples off my coop to get in. We have huge hawks, it's unreal. We have peregrine falcons here in my neighborhood. What else? Cats, things like that would come and try and get my birds. So there's no way I can let them out. It's just not happening. Oh, I missed your comment. Say it again. It came off the screen. I don't know how to pull them back up. Oh man, that sucks. So yeah, we don't have snake problem, but I do know people that do. The other problems that we have around here, most of the farmers I talk to that I've dealt with, they've got coyotes, they've got mink, they've got hawks, they've got owls. Owls are a big problem here too. In fact, I think an owl tried to attack one of my dogs a few years ago. He's still scared to come out here at night, and he had these huge scrapes on his back, and it was at nighttime. I think it must have been an owl. And he's white, so that scared me. Are the buns burnt? No, I actually turned the barbecue off while we're talking. Yeah, hawks are the worst. I saw some enormous hawks. It was bananas the other day. I saw a hawk so big, I almost had to pull over and look at it while I was driving. Hi, sweetie. Everyone's waiting for dinner. Sorry, I just need to get another plate. Oh, we're not doing hot dogs. We're doing hamburgers tonight, buddy. Yeah. You hanging out with Nana? Good girl. Yeah, hawks are bad. And I know, especially with the Banty hens, they're taking a lot of those birds off the farms. I know that one farmer, he has turkeys, and they're just picking off his ducks and his turkeys. It's crazy. And I raise my babies from day-old chicks, and they're often unsexed. And you have to wait until they crow to see if it's a rooster. And I've had quite a number of roosters that I've had to rehome. And it makes me so scared to drop them off at my friends' farms, because I know they're free ranging, and I understand I understand the situation, and it makes me nervous. I actually have a lady that I'm really good friends with, and she takes my guys. One hot chip. I think it was a piece of the burger. It was delicious, actually. Just wanted to make sure it was tasty. And I think I rehomed 5 or 6 birds to her, boys, and one of them has gone missing. But the rest of them, I was literally there yesterday, and my guys came running up to the car to come see me and let me pet them. The last few times I went out there, they were kind of like, Mom, can't believe you just dropped us here. But this time they came, they were happy to see me, and they were showing off for me that they've grown up and they've got these huge tail feathers. They're so beautiful, and they're mature now, and they're going to make beautiful babies, and it makes me happy I can at least go see them, especially since I raised them from babies, and I thought they were girls, right? So you just love them, and you dote on them, and you wait, and then all of a sudden they crow one day, and you're like, oh, buddy, damn it. And they're so beautiful. So, yeah, it was nice to see them. But it's always sad to leave them, right? But at least I get to see them, and they're doing okay. So all is well. The one that went missing, he was a Banty and a fancy little Polish, and that kind of makes me sad. He was pretty sweet. Anyway, it is what it is. That's nature, right? What am I gonna do? Anyway, we're not allowed to have roosters in the neighborhood, so they've got to go as soon as they start crowing. That's what happened to me yesterday. My guy, I knew he was a boy. I was just waiting for him to crow. And I wanted to make sure he was as strong as possible and as big as possible and as hardy as possible before I brought him out there to the farm where he's going to have to fend for the girls and fend for himself. So I think I did a pretty good job on that one. Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, right? It was lovely to have him and to enjoy him and raise him. It's so sad to see him go. But he's going to make us some beautiful little babies. And he's going to live his best life out there. He's got some freedom and look at me, I'm going to cry. He's got some freedom and he's got his girls. I brought some girls with him. And yeah, they'll be okay. It's going to be all right. Anyway, I got to go feed the family before everything gets cold. It was very nice speaking with y'all. Thank you very much for joining in and participating. And I hope all is well everywhere where you are. Hang tough out there, everybody. I know it's a very strange world going on right now. Hang tough, man. We're going to make it through, yeah? But make sure you're becoming more self-sufficient all the time, whether you're just starting a garden or whether you're thinking about chickens or quail or whatever it is that you think that you might be able to do, rabbits even. Thank you very much, Ray Max, Kitchen and Grill, and Kevin. Thank you for speaking with me. Yeah, just become more self-sufficient. You don't want to be reliant on the system, okay? Do something proactive to try and alleviate the stress. All right. Be a champion in your kitchen or your homestead, wherever you are. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.